Hi everyone, my name is Rachel and welcome to my vlog. On today's episode, I'm going to talk about my estate sale experience. Growing up in the 80s and 90s in Michigan, I would go estate sale shopping with my great grandma and my great aunt. And it was fun. And we'd find cool things for the house or cool things we could resell and turn to a profit. As an adult, I occasionally will take my daughter, about once a month I'll go to estate sales. I'll go about two to three, and find things that either I need for the house or I turn to profit on eBay or an auction place. And so, I'm teaching my daughter that when she's older, she may want to do this and earn some extra cash. The problem with eBay, as you all know, it's hit or miss. But back in when eBay first started, I would make a lot of money. But now it's just hit or miss. Okay, so talking about my experience estate sale shopping this week. I had seen online that this particular house had some really cool antiques, silver. And silver in eBay does turn a profit. It depends how old it is, who made it, and how what condition it's in. And you want it in best, excellent condition. So I went there, I looked around the house, and I saw the cool silver. Not in the best condition, and it wasn't that old. There were some antiques. But everything there, I'll be honest to you, was just overpriced for an estate sale. Some things were fair price, but others were not. So as I went around the house looking for something to turn a profit on, or if my daughter wanted something to turn a profit, I looked at the books, and I am a collector of old books. I love antique books. To me, it's just cooler to read than some of the books today. And I'd rather read a book than sit around and play Roblox or, Facebook. And my grandparents would say, never stop reading. So I picked up this hard-covered book, and I'm looking through it, and I had this, and I did not see the cover, the title, or the author name. I was thumbing through it, and I had this very eerie, gross, dark feeling about this book. And then I looked at the cover. And now this book was written in the early 1900s, so the paper cover on it, if there was one, which probably did, is gone at this point. So it's just a hardcover. So obviously I did not see the title. I was in shock. The book was written by a well-known person in history that will always be known in history. None other than the evildoer Adolf Hitler. Mein Kampf, My Struggles, he wrote. Not just one, not two, but 3 copies. 2 of Mein Kampf and another book written by him. I forgot the title, but it was another book. And then I looked around, and there were books written by Rasputin and many other dictators throughout history. It did not take me long to realize this house was anti-Semitic, anti-Jews. This is 2019, people. It's not okay to be anti-anything. And they have a child, and I really hope they're not teaching their child to be against religions or cultures, because that's not how the world should be. We should love cultures. We should open up and learn about other people's cultures and religions. We should teach our children that stuff. But unfortunately, in 2019, the way politics is, the way the news is, the way social media is, it's becoming more closed-minded, unfortunately, and kids are not listening to, I should say, no, they are listening. They're listening to the wrong stuff, and people are fighting, saying hurtful things, and yeah, it's just a big hoopla of anti-everything. I don't understand why people are anti-Semitic. I grew up in Michigan. That was, I would say, about 95% Jewish. My family is non-denominational. So, I was open up to Jewish religion. Yes, I celebrate Christmas. I was more Jewish. I was the unofficial Jew, I felt like, growing up. And during college, during my internship in Belgium, I actually converted to Judaism. I thought, well, might as well make it official. Then I find out years later, a secret my family had that no one knew, that was meant to die away. As I did my genealogy, I found out that my entire family on the Belgian side, the Flemish, was Jewish. Accept the proof There is none, because if you were Jewish back in the day, this is before it became public to be Jewish and that's okay to be Jewish in the early 1800s, you were a converso or convert. A lot of Spanish and Portuguese came to Flanders before Belgium became a country. This is way back when. A lot of the Germans fled and came to Flanders. And if you were caught practicing Judaism as a converso, you would go to prison. During the times of Napoleon, you'd be sent over to a fortified city in Germany. That's what he did. It's so bizarre. So I actually I contacted the Jewish Community Center in Antwerp. I said, how many Jews outside of Antwerp were living in each village and city? And they said, we don't have a clue. There's not much documentation, if there is any. Which means more likely people practice in secret. Which means my family was 100% Jewish on one side. But by the time it could be okay to practice in public, damage had been done by many families, including my own. My second great-grandfather, who came over from Belgium to America, probably knew of a secret because his grandmother, surname was De Beer. And De Beer is a typical Jewish name. Although you can argue, I've read the arguments that rabbis will say we can't tell by name. You can if you trace the family back to a certain period of time. And if it's a German name, for example, that's typical Jewish, that's in Flanders, for example, or in Spain, figure out when they arrived. If you can trace far back. For my family, I could trace the Catholic baptism or the marriage records until I think it was the late 1700s, I think early 1600s, and that just drops off for a number of my family. What is interesting to know, and this is like a total rant, so forgive me, is the fact that a lot of the conversos married other conversos to keep the Jewish genes within the families. And of course, many years later, generations later, that idea or the ancestry had been forgotten about. So a lot of Christians that come from inland Europe don't even know that there's a good chance they have Jewish ancestry. So it's pretty cool knowing that. And I'm working on a book on that because I think it's just a cool thing to know. And every year, because as I make this vlog, it is the eve of Rosh Hashanah, which is a Jewish New Year. I'm not super religious, but I do teach my children about various religions, and we do celebrate various holidays of various religions because I have friends of different cultures and religions. And I celebrate, especially Rosh Hashanah, because I want to give my ancestors a voice that they did not have because they were not allowed to because of stupidity of politics. So yeah, I had to explain all that to my daughter about what anti-Semitic is, because where we live in the state, in the city, there's not many Jews. In fact, she's learning Jewish history. She's learning the biblical part of it, and we're in public schools. She's learning a little bit about the Holocaust, and I was showing videos on YouTube. And I told her a story about when I met a woman who was in Auschwitz, and her arm was tattooed. And I'll never forget that, an 8th grade field trip in the 90s, early 90s. My daughter will never meet anyone that was in Auschwitz or any other unfortunate place back at that time period. And I'm fortunate enough to tell her about it. And I still remember that. And I was, I was in 8th grade. So I'm signing off my rant on this. I guess I want to say, just be careful when you go to certain places, certain estate sales. Even though where I went to was a very wealthy neighborhood, not far from where I lived, clean house. But finding out there's anti-Semitic was just sad and grossed me out. I think people should definitely be open to others and learn. And because we've gone through history, Jews have been hated for 2,000 years. No one knows the real reason. We know the short-term reason, but we don't know it all. We don't. I mean, if you think Jesus, and I hate to go in the religious aspect of it, but Jesus was Jewish. He was a rabbi. Christianity was founded, I think it was 100 years after Jesus had lived, which is very fascinating learning. We don't learn that stuff in school. I went to Sunday school, and I remember that stuff. I went to a Free Methodist college, and so I had religious background in education, and I would question things, and the teacher would say, well, we don't question. Why not? It's how you learn. The Old Testament's basically the Torah, isn't it? So that means when Jesus was alive, he was a hippie rabbi, if you think about it. I mean, he was more of a new age. He's like the cool dude. I mean, how many people can turn blood into wine? I think that's awesome. But anyways, yeah, so, it just, I guess the point is just be careful. And I really hope those parents, they were European, and they're probably, I think I said, I don't know if I said in my blog, if I have not, I'll say it now, in their 30s or 40s. They have a teenage daughter. I really hope that they're not teaching their child to be anti-Semitic or anti-anything. Because, again, 2019, just be kind. Love thy neighbor, no matter what religion you have or religion you are or what you celebrate. All right, thanks. Bye.